Welcome back to 110 Daily. Excuse me. Welcome back to 110 Daily on the 110 Sports Network. Josh Doring, Chris Brown. Of course, there's an ultimate winner. It's hard to be a bigger winner than the team that wins the Super Bowl. It's hard to be a bigger winner than the guy who wins an MVP when his team wins a Super Bowl, and it's even harder to be a bigger winner than the guy who gets ring number 7, MVP of the Super Bowl number 5, and all of those other things that Tom Brady did. The second quarterback. Trivia time. Who's the other only quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl with multiple teams?
Oh.
Because there's only 2. There's now 2. There was 1. There's now 2.
Do you have it, Josh?
Yeah.
Oh, go for it. I'm blanking.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Go.
That's
of
correct.
Course.
Peyton Manning. That is correct.
Okay, I knew
but
that.
we're going to do winners and losers anyway. Winners and losers from the weekend. We don't give out participation trophies at the highest level of sports. So we have winners. We have losers. Josh, who was your winner?
My winner is Manchester City.
Ooh.
Teams 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the Premier League all dropped points. They're going to run away with this thing. They've won 14 straight across all competitions. They battered Liverpool 4-1. This is just, they're so much better than everybody else right now. And remember at the beginning of the year where there was all this conversation about, well, maybe Pep Guardiola has lost it. And are they ever going to be the same? And is he the guy to lead them moving forward with his contract coming up? Yeah, LOL. He's got a new contract and they're just so much better than everybody else. We needed to just calm down for a second here.
I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was really aware of Pep's expectations prior to the beginning of this season, but right, it is for me, someone who doesn't follow soccer super closely. The kings of the Premier League, I don't go to City first, at least not in my head, and over the last 5 years or so, they've put together the most impressive resume over the last at least 5 years. That's at least where I got in my head, and have continued to. And there they are, right back at the top of the Premier League again. And to your point, as you say, running away with it and winning, 14 straight now, and they get to play somebody like bad to go for 15 straight in a couple days.
They got the FA Cup against Swansea, who's having a good season. Just brought in 2 MLS guys to help boost their championship promotion push. So
that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know right there is who they're bringing in to boost their championship promotion. Chris, who's your winner?
Before I even say my winner, I feel like we need to clip the little 3 seconds of Josh saying, yeah, LOL, and just use that when we feel like it's appropriate in the future. My winner is
like a hotkey on a radio show.
Yeah, like a radio show. Yeah, LOL. My winner is St. John's basketball.
How about it?
There's no hotter team in the Big East and few hotter teams in the country right now than St. John's. 3 weeks ago, they were 6-6 overall. Just 2-6 in Big East play, not great. Now, after they took down Providence on Saturday on the road, I should note, they're on a 6-game winning streak. They've beaten Villanova, Marquette, and UConn, and of course Providence in that time. After they upset Villanova, I believe that was their last game right before the Providence game. They were clearly not content with that. They showed a lot of maturity, some discipline going out, and sort of just they could have sort of. We beat Villanova, and they could have sort of fallen a little bit, not gone in 100% against Providence, and they stuck to it. They're now 7-6 in Big East play all of a sudden. Their NCAA tournament hopes are very legitimate, which is something that just they were 2-6 in conference play a few weeks ago. Now all of a sudden, they've got some winnable games coming up, some opportunities to be very much squarely in the NCAA tournament picture. They have some players who have Posh Alexander, Julian Champagny, both impressing, some real consistency.
That dude is legit.
Yeah.
He's so young. This is a young team that if Mike Anderson can keep this up.
So I'm excited. They're my winner.
I'm really excited about my winner, guys. My winner is Jordan Spieth.
I knew it.
I should have known.
Did you know it? I'm a little upset that you knew it.
I would have guessed Jordan Spieth, absolutely.
Okay, so Jordan Spieth. Let me paint you a word picture here. Jordan Jordan Spieth finished tied for 4th at the Waste Management Open with rounds of 67, 67, 61, 72. He couldn't make a putt on Sunday. That's fine. It happens. But it's been a really long time since Jordan Spieth finished in the top 5 of a tournament on the PGA Tour. Would you like to guess the last time that Jordan Spieth won a tournament? Finished in the top 5 of a PGA Tour event?
Chris, you got this one.
I do. Oh, you know it already.
Keep
Josh?
in mind, this is this is somebody who at one point was the number 1 player in the world, has won all 3 majors, 3 of the 4 majors. The only one he doesn't have is the PGA Championship. He's been number 1 in the world. He's got 15 wins overall or something like that. 11 career victories and 3 additional victories. So 14 professional wins already. And now he's outside of the top 50 in the official World Golf Ranking. He took a very far dive. So when was the last time he finished top 5 in a PGA Tour event?
Gosh, okay. Been a while.
And Spieth is 69th in the official World Golf Rankings right now.
The last time he finished 5th. Okay, I'm going to think this out a little bit. I'm thinking it out. I'm stalling. I'm going to say it's been 2 years.
It's been almost 2 years. The last time he finished top 5 in a PGA Tour event was the PGA Championship on May 19th of 2019. That was the last time Jordan Spieth finished top 5 in a tournament. He has a couple of
Yikes.
At the end of the 2019 season, he finished top 6. In 2020, he had a couple of solid finishes. The best of which being, let me find it real quick. The best of which being a top, he finished 13th in July of 2020 at the Memorial. He finished 9th at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, but it has been a really tough last couple years for Jordan Spieth, and as an extent a weird time for golf too, because Jordan Spieth being good is just something that was expected to be the case for 20 years, and him being in the conversation. And for a long time, he just wasn't in the conversation. And for him to have a week like this, he shot 61 in round 3. He had 10 birdies, 31 front 9, 30 back 9. And while he only shot 72 in the final round, it was because he couldn't make a putt to save his life, not because he wasn't hitting the ball well. And that's the thing that he's really struggled with the last couple of years, is just consistent ball striking. Off the tee's been horrible. His irons haven't been great. His putter has fallen off a little bit. So it's just been a really tough couple of years for Spieth on the golf course. To see him have a round like he had on Saturday, to be in contention again. The game, the sport is just better. It's indisputable. The sport's just better when he's good. And so to see him have a performance like this was really, really cool to see. And hopefully he can compound that into having a really nice season. But even though he didn't actually end up winning yesterday, Brooks Koepka could be my winner as well. He actually won the event. He's struggled with injuries the last couple of years. So he could be my winner as well. But Spieth's my winner. I'm just happy for the guy, and hope that this turns into him actually competing at a high level all of 2021.
Yeah, the results I was just looking at, I'm just pulled up the results from this year, just in particular. It's been, obviously you mentioned how long it's been. It's been a rough. He hadn't finished in the top 35 in this year's events. So yeah, much needed.
At the U.S. Open, which was back in September, he was quoted saying that it's a really terrifying feeling to step on the first tee at a U.S. Open and not know where the ball is going to go. That's a professional golfer. That's a professional and a really damn good one for that, right? And one who's been at the very tippity top of the sport, like a guy who at one point was winning tournaments at such a young age and winning majors at such a young age that he was being talked about in the same breath as the beginning of Tiger's career. Now, nobody's ever going to dominate the sport the way the Tiger did because of how good everybody is now. But that's where Spieth was at one point, right? That's where he was.
Yeah.
And to be where he is now is a drop that is way farther than anybody thought he would ever drop. Josh, real quick, who's your loser?
Iowa.
Man, it was too
Four
easy.
loss-
It was too easy, so I knew I probably wasn't going to be the only one. But tell us why.
Four losses in 5 games after getting swept by Indiana in their last game over the weekend. It was their second loss to IU this season. Luka Garza's only scored 20 or more points in 2 of his last 6 games. They've been straight up bad since CJ Frederick got hurt. They scored 85 points against Ohio State and still lost. And then this game was low scoring. Their defense isn't consistent the way that it was when they were playing better in Big Ten play and were holding people to 70, 75 points and winning 82-75 or 83-67 or whatever it might be. And the offense is not as consistent. Garza is not the player he was earlier this year. I love their bench and their role players. They weren't great in this Indiana game, but in this stretch, they've been pretty good. It's not like it's a lack of help. It's the big guns aren't consistent enough, and they're not playing good enough defense. It's falling apart pretty quickly here.
Yeah. Chris, your loser.
My loser for this week is kind of a serious one rather than just a team. My loser is the baseball world with the sudden passing of longtime ESPN reporter Pedro Gomez yesterday at the age of 58. I don't think that there was really any figure in baseball media, very few, who were as universally respected and beloved as Pedro Gomez was. He'd been at ESPN for the better part of the last 2 decades. And I have an MLB Twitter list of media members, players, teams, all that kind of stuff. And just the flood of the sheer volume of tweets with stories about him and from current players and former players and Hall of Famers and media figures. He was a major trailblazer in sports media, for Latinos in sports media. He covered more than 25 World Series. And he was one of those people who, there are plenty of people in sports media and media in general who come off as kind, of course. But he was one of those people who was in that special tier who there was just sort of a genuineness and an authenticity to them that you saw, that the idea that what you saw on the air was, you were very confident that was the same person that person is off the air. So he connected with players and coaches and media members in a way that earned him the respect of everybody in the game. So a loss for his family, of course, and the baseball world with Pedro Gomez. So mine's kind of somber a little bit, but yeah, I wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, he was one of those guys where I was always excited when SportsCenter would promote coming up after the break. We go live to Pedro Gomez to talk about XYZ at Fenway Park or Yankee Stadium or whatever it might be. That, yeah, it's just terrible, shocking news.
Now my loser feels incredibly
I should have
unimportant. Because losing a college basketball game is unimportant in the grand scheme of things. But absolutely, definitely and not for just the baseball world, but for the sports world, for the ESPN family, for anybody who's watched SportsCenter with any sort of consistency over the last 15 years knows who Pedro Gomez is. And to see him pass away also unexpectedly, and to not see that, I mean, I've going through that and seeing somebody die way before they're supposed to is not something I would wish on anybody. My loser is the Drake Bulldogs. Drake lost to Valpo.
After almost losing to Valpo, right?
74-57.
Yeah.
Yes. Would you like to venture a guess as to what Valpo's performance is this year from a record standpoint?
Not great.
It's not great.
Let's see, what would they be at? Are they 3 games below 500?
Almost in conference they're just under 3 games under 500 in the Missouri Valley Conference. They're 7-12 overall. They're 4-6 in the Missouri Valley Conference. And this is Drake's first loss of the season. They're 9-1. They're 18-1 overall. But why they're a loser? This is the kind of game that can keep you from getting an at-large bid. You losing to Valpo is not good, right? Because like if Drake goes undefeated, they're probably not going to have to sweat on Selection Sunday. Even if if they lose in the tournament in the final to Loyola Chicago, but they go undefeated other than that, you're not going to have to sweat on Selection Sunday that you're going to get into the tournament. The MVC is just going to be a multi-bid league this year, and that's awesome. And that could still be the case. I mean, I still think if they go undefeated the rest of the way, they beat Loyola Chicago twice, but then lose to them in the MVC championship game, that they probably still get in. But we're talking about the margin of error dramatically decreasing. You can't lose to a team like Valpo when you're a team like Drake in the Missouri Valley Conference. And it's not like Drake is Wichita State or Houston, or you pick a mid-major team that is a perennial, we're one of the 25 best teams in the country type team. Because I'm a really big proponent of where you start in the eyes of the committee is important in terms of what you do or don't have to do.
For sure.
Oh yeah,
Drake was not supposed
for sure.
Right, Drake is not what they were supposed to be this year. Liam Robbins left to go to Minnesota, and they're inexplicably way better than they were last year. Almost inexplicably. So, but, and Drake getting into the top 25 is an important thing. I don't know where they are in the net rankings, but I think they're pretty high. At least they were prior to this. Prior to this loss, and I haven't looked in the last few days what the net rankings look like right now. But my point is that it's not like Drake started at 17th in the country like Houston did, or Drake started 12th in the country like Wichita State has before. They started on no one's radar. I mean, we were talking about it all over the place about how cool of a story Drake is, and the fact that they're undefeated still in one of the 5 remaining undefeated teams in college basketball. When you're in that position, fair or not, you have to, your margin of error is already smaller than a team that starts in the top 25 just because the expectation is that they're supposed to be good. So I really hope this doesn't result in them not making the tournament. I really hope, because I think Drake is good, and I think a team like Drake being in the NCAA tournament is good for the NCAA tournament, and I'd much rather have a team like Drake than a team like, pick a below average, Power 5 team that has better wins than Drake just because they get to play better teams than Drake. I would much rather have a Drake team in there than pick an arbitrary Power 5 team to put in that spot. But it might be, and right, like I said, if they pick up right where they left off, if they beat Loyola Chicago at least once in this matchup that is coming up on the 13th and 14th between those two teams, Loyola Chicago, for what's worth, 12-1 in conference, 17-3 overall. They're also in a similar position to Drake. But the point still being the same is that a loss like that really, really doesn't help. And at the very least doesn't help your margin of error, and they have to be very exact coming down the stretch to feel like they have a chance to get an at-large bid, even if they don't win the MVC conference tournament.
Even Loyola Chicago has a certain amount of pedigree now.
Sure, yeah.
That, like, they're still on the bubble and very much in the NCAA tournament conversation, partially because they were supposed to be good this year, and partially because it's Loyola Chicago, so people are going to pay attention when they do sort of fulfill these expectations people had, and are a really good basketball team with a coach that's been to the Final Four,
right,
and a program that recently made a trip to the Final Four. So you've got that working against you too.
Right.
You've got a team in your own conference with a different kind of pedigree.
Right. So they're my loser. Hopefully it doesn't result in them not making the tournament, because I would like to see Drake in the tournament. I believe that's all we have for you. We're about 13. We went long today. We've gone long. Wow. Let me try that again. have gone long the last few days on the show here. But thank you so much for joining us on a Monday. As of right now, the plan is for us to be back on Friday. If anything massive pops up in
Carson Wentz trade.
the sports world, like a Carson Wentz trade, we're gonna have to give Josh somewhere to blow off steam, or to come yell about where he went, or maybe rejoice about where he went. I mean, I don't know where your head is at in particular, but I would argue that him going to the Colts and reuniting with Frank Reich is not a bad thing for Carson Wentz.
I don't know where my head's at either at this point.
Okay, so maybe we'll have to come back and talk about a hypothetical Carson Wentz trade if that actually does happen between now and Friday. If not, we will see you back here on Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here at twitch.tv/110sports. Please check out 110sportsmedia.com. All of the written stuff we have going up over there. And if we don't see you before Friday, have a great week, and we'll catch you right back here to end the week at 10 a.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/110sports. We will see you then.